I'm joined by Edosege Omogbe, a biochemist and an ICT consultant, to help us add to knowledge as far as the assumption, as some people have called it, that there's a correlation between 5G and the spread of coronavirus. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, Sage.
We did a special report where you spoke with my colleague, yes, Blessing H.A. Previously. You still talk with people today and they're still telling you, look, there's a conspiracy theory somewhere. The idea behind 5G is to, as it were, facilitate, so to speak, the spread of COVID-19. But then again, you look at the history of the internet. It has evolved over time in terms, yes, of the connectivity, the platform, the spectrum, and in real time, the speed from 2G to 3G to 4G. Now, 5G is the biggest conversation as far as internet connectivity is concerned. How do we distinguish between, establish whether or not there's a correlation between COVID-19 and 5G?
Yes, thank you very much. The constraint there is this. We've had 2G, 3G, and 4G. Okay. But the challenge so far has been that 5G has, it's about 10 to 20 times faster to the 3G, 2G, okay, or 4G as we have it. So that's where the constraint is. The 4G tops up at 6 gigahertz, while the 5G between 10 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz.
That's a whole lot.
Yes, that's a whole lot. So it's a sharp difference from what we've been used to. That's where the constraint is. Then, however, there are a lot of, the benefit for the 5G is enormous. It's promising. Okay. You know, it has good promises, but the problem has been, what are going to be the health implications of having this on board? Yes. You know, and from some countries where we've seen that they've implemented the 5G, some part of such countries have had some issues. Some of the residents complain about radiations, you know, from such towers. And another thing is this, need to bring to bear is this: 5G has 3 bands. Okay. Actually, it has the mid band, it has the low band, then the mid band, and then the millimeter wave band. The millimeter wave happens to be the one that is very dangerous for now. Okay. That's what we think. The radiations coming are so very, very high for the millimeter waves. And the constraints has been that if this 5G were to be deployed, it actually will require micro towers or micro units, like street light poles to be put in almost at every 3 to 4 houses. Okay. So it means this would cause people staying in such environment to be exposed to such radiations almost on a daily basis. Well, the other thing is this: it's how long you are exposed to these radiations that will determine health implications. Actually, not just the exposure, but the period for which you are exposed. Yes. Okay. If you are staying very, very close to a 5G mast, then you'll be exposed to it. Maybe that's your residential place and that's where it's being mounted. Okay. You're going to be exposed to it. Then, if you look at it, before now, we used to have network masts being installed in people's houses. Right inside our compounds. Yes, and I think there's a restriction that it should be around 50 feet away from residential houses. Okay. All around. If you notice, they've stopped doing that. I've not seen any new masts being erected so far. Okay. On account of that restriction? Long ago, before all this, before now. Yes. And there were some complaints of people staying around such masts that they had frequent headaches. Some complaints about that. And another thing is this: the radiations actually, if high, could affect humans in the sense that the cells. Every human is made up of cells. Obviously. Yes. And at the point of cell division, where the cells are replicating, if the radiation should knock off the cell sequencing, or as in distort the base sequencing for any of them, the base sequencing being distorted, it will produce something different. You know, we talked about cancer, okay, let me talk about this first. Imagine the immune system, you know, being distorted. There are cases of where you have several health conditions where the immune system is not recognizing the body anymore and then begins to attack the body as an enemy. Before you know, the person is it's hospitalized, and before you know, the person is gone. If these radiations alter this DNA sequencing, like for instance, there is a sequencing for replication for this is my cat. If one of them is distorted and the DNA cannot repair it effectively well, it will produce something like this cat is mine, instead of the normal sequencing that
changes the order.
Yes, it changes the order, and then the body will not be able to accommodate it because it's not used to this. You see, in some places, we talk about cancer growing, malignant growth. The growth keeps coming. It just because that's the program it has gotten. Produce more growth cells.
So it starts working with that program.
Yes. So those are the constraints about it. You know, if for instance the cell towers would not be, they will not be having units in residential areas and all that.
Yes.
Then it would have been a bit okay, but that it will be having, and if for now the mid band is what is being deployed, what if the millimeter wave becomes the next thing that is being deployed? Which
is the height of it.
Yes.
You know, let's talk about something before we're done with this discussion. Okay. The Honorable Minister of Communication in Nigeria has said, look, we are not licensed yet for 5G. So some persons say, well, that brings closure to the issue of 5G in Nigeria. But then again, let's go back history a little. The issue of trade war has been on between the US and China.
Yes.
Incidentally, we understand COVID-19 emanated from an 11 million city called Wuhan in China. And 5G is the major plank in the trade war between the US and China. And as I said, the virus, which of course US President Donald Trump had called Chinese virus, all right, is obviously came from China.
Yes.
I want to ask you this. Is there a study that categorically links COVID-19 to 5G?
I have not stumbled on any.
Okay.
I'm still checking and doing following some research that has been done. The thing is this, there's actually that theory that the US and China are actually raising to be the first to have
to roll out 5G.
Yes,
right?
5G, because you know, beyond that there's the Internet of Things.
The IoT.
Yes, the IoT, where you could actually do much more. That is, you come to a house and then your light bulbs are connected to 5G, your sprinklers outside are connected to 5G. Most of the things you use, your cars are driving themselves, you know. That could only happen on 5G. There are actually theories that US and China are actually at each other's throat for the rollout of 5G. So that cannot be ruled out also.
Okay.
Yes. But however, for the virus, what I know is that can only happen if the immune system is knocked off by this virus for human beings. And if you notice, those with higher immunity tend to recover faster from this COVID-19. That is why you hear in cases or news that it affects the elderly. It affects the elderly. In
those
all
with underlying health issues.
Also, because when someone is suffering from health issues, you know, cancer and the rest, the immune system has come down. So that is one of the other constraints too. So it affects mainly those people. And another thing is, if someone can be having a good immune system and is tested positive for, or can be positive for COVID-19 and passes it on to someone with less immunity, so the person will suffer more. So making him like a carrier for COVID-19.
All right, I think that's the much time we allow us to talk about this, but this is a discussion that continues to evolve with the day, and we will continue to follow it and keep track with those who have a handle on these issues on our programs here on Independent Television. Thank you so much, Edusege Mogbe, for coming on the program. Edusege Mogbe is a biochemist and an ICT consultant who has joined us this morning to help beat some of these issues into context, especially where conspiracy theorists have pushed the possibility that there's, as it were, a marriage between COVID-19 and 5G. But remember, as always, that the views of our guests on those programs, their opinions. That's TMI for you this Thursday. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe. Stay with Independent Television.